My wife Jessica announced she was taking a solo trip on a Tuesday morning, right between her second cup of coffee and her daily Instagram scroll through other people's seemingly perfect lives. "I need space to find myself," she said, not looking up from her phone. "Don't ask questions." I stirred my eggs and nodded. "Sure, honey. Bali's lovely this time of year for soul searching." She shot me that look, the one that said I was being difficult again. After 12 years of marriage, I'd collected quite a repertoire of Jessica's looks. This particular one usually preceded a lecture about my emotional unavailability or my inability to take things seriously. "It's not Bali," she said, finally meeting my eyes. "And I'm serious about the no questions thing." "Of course you are." I took a bite of toast. "Should I water your plants while you're gone, or are they also finding themselves?" Jessica's jaw tightened. She grabbed her purse, the designer one she'd bought after her promotion last year, and headed for the door. "I'll be back in 2 weeks. Try not to burn the house down." The door slammed with the kind of finality that suggested this conversation was far from over, just postponed. I sat there in our pristine kitchen, surrounded by the carefully curated life we'd built in Millbrook Heights, the suburb where everyone's lawn was exactly the right shade of green, and everyone's marriage looked exactly the right shade of perfect. I should have been worried. A normal husband would have been worried. Instead, I found myself oddly relieved. 2 weeks without Jessica's constant critiques of my career stagnation, my social awkwardness, or my apparent failure to appreciate the finer things in life that she'd grown so fond of. 2 weeks of not pretending everything was fine. I finished my breakfast, loaded the dishwasher, and went to work at Henderson & Associates, where I'd been a senior accountant for 8 years and would likely remain a senior accountant until I died, or the company went under, whichever came first. Jessica's absence felt different this time, not the usual relief I'd expected, but something else, a nagging sensation that I was missing something important. Maybe it was the way she'd packed, taking clothes I'd never seen her wear. Or how she'd cleaned out her jewelry box, including pieces she claimed to hate. Or maybe it was the Venmo notification that popped up on the tablet we shared. Jessica paid Ethan M. $200. "Thanks for the reservation, Ethan M." That would be Ethan Morrison, married to Lauren, Jessica's best friend since college. The same Lauren who'd been bragging about their perfect marriage at every dinner party for the past 5 years. The same Ethan who Jessica had always claimed was too smooth and probably a sociopath. Interesting character development. I screenshotted the transaction, though I wasn't sure why. Call it accountant instinct. I'd learned to document irregularities. Over the next few days, more breadcrumbs appeared. A hotel receipt in her email she'd forgotten to log out of our shared iPad for the Grandview Resort, 2 hours north. A text from someone named E that simply said, "Can't wait to see you again." By day 6, I'd compiled quite the collection. Jessica, it seemed, was finding herself in the company of Ethan Morrison. The same Ethan who was supposedly attending a guys' golf weekend, according to Lauren's Facebook posts. I could have confronted her, called, demanded explanations, played the role of the betrayed husband. Instead, I found myself curious about how far this would go. Jessica had always been theatrical. This felt like her magnum opus. Besides, I'd learned something about myself over the years. I was much better at watching than participating. Jessica returned on a Sunday afternoon, practically glowing. She'd gotten a tan, styled her hair differently, and had the kind of relaxed confidence I hadn't seen in years. She looked like a woman who'd gotten exactly what she'd gone looking for. "How was your soul searching?" I asked, not looking up from my book. "Transformative." She set down her suitcase with a satisfied smile. "I learned a lot about what I really want. Such as none of your business." But she said it playfully, almost flirtatiously. "I missed you, David." This was new. Jessica hadn't missed me in approximately 3 years. Over the next week, she was different. Happier, more affectionate, cooking elaborate dinners and suggesting we reconnect. She bought new lingerie and actually wore it. She laughed at my jokes, even the bad ones. It was the best our marriage had been in years, which made what happened next almost funny in its predictability. "David," she said over breakfast on the following Sunday, her voice carefully casual. "I have something to tell you." I looked up from the newspaper. "You're pregnant." Her coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. "How did you? You've been drinking herbal tea for a week. You turned green when I made bacon yesterday. And you've been taking those prenatal vitamins you think I haven't noticed." I folded the paper. Also, you've been gone for 2 weeks, and even I know how babies work. Jessica set down her cup, her perfect composure cracking slightly. I know this is unexpected. Is it mine? The question hung in the air between us like a loaded gun. Jessica's face went through several expressions: surprise, indignation, guilt, and finally, resignation. Of course it's yours, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Of course it is. I stood up, kissed her forehead with the kind of tenderness that made her flinch. Congratulations, sweetheart. I'm sure Ethan will be thrilled. I left her sitting there, her mouth open, her perfect facade finally cracking. Jessica became sloppy after that. Maybe it was the pregnancy hormones, or maybe she was just tired of pretending. Either way, she left her old phone in the junk drawer, the one she'd lost right before her trip, the one with all the messages. I found it on a Tuesday evening while looking for batteries. It was dead, but Jessica had always been predictable with passwords. Our anniversary date got me in on the first try. The messages told quite a story. Jessica, I can't stop thinking about last weekend. Ethan, neither can I. When can we do it again? Jessica, David's working late Thursday. Your place? Ethan, Lauren's at book club. Perfect. There were photos, videos, detailed descriptions of what they wanted to do to each other. A pregnancy test with the message, can't wait to tell him it's yours. And my personal favorite from just 3 days ago, Ethan, think he knows? Jessica, David, please. He barely notices when I get my hair cut. I screenshotted everything, uploaded it to a secure cloud account, and put the phone back exactly where I'd found it. Then I poured myself a scotch and considered my options. I could confront them directly, messy, emotional, ultimately unsatisfying. I could hire a lawyer, file for divorce, split everything down the middle, civilized, expensive, boring. Or I could do something more creative. Jessica had always said I lacked imagination. Time to prove her wrong. Lauren Morrison lived in a house that looked like it belonged in a magazine spread about modern suburban elegance. Everything was perfectly coordinated, from the seasonal wreath on the front door to the luxury SUV in the circular driveway. I didn't knock. Instead, I left a manila envelope in her mailbox with her name written in block letters. Inside, printed copies of the most damning messages, photos, tastefully cropped, and a simple note. Thought you should know. A friend. I timed it perfectly. Lauren worked from home on Fridays, always checked her mail around noon, and Jessica was at her yoga class until 2 p.m. At 12:47, my phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Lauren's acting weird. She won't answer my calls. At 1:15, something's wrong. She's not responding to anyone. At 1:33, she just texted me. She's coming over. Now. I was in my home office, allegedly working on quarterly reports, when Jessica burst in. David, Lauren's on her way over and she seems upset about something. If she asks about my trip, just don't say anything weird, okay? Define weird. You know what I mean. Just be normal. I'm always normal. Jessica gave me a look that suggested my definition of normal was questionable, then hurried downstairs to prepare for whatever storm was coming. I opened my laptop and pretended to work on spreadsheets while listening to the sound of Jessica frantically tidying the living room below. This was going to be interesting. Lauren arrived at 2:17 p.m., and I knew immediately that she'd read every word. Her usually perfect composure was gone, replaced by the kind of barely controlled fury that made smart people step aside. Jessica greeted her at the door with her brightest smile. Lauren, what's... The slap echoed through the house. You lying, backstabbing bitch. I paused my typing to listen more carefully. Lauren, what are you talking about? What's wrong? Don't. Lauren's voice was deadly quiet. Don't you dare pretend you don't know. There was rustling. Lauren pulling out the printed messages, I assumed. Where did you get these? Jessica's voice had gone up an octave. Does it matter? Are they real? Silence. Jessica, are they real? I can explain. So they're real. Lauren's laugh was bitter. My husband, my best friend, in my bed. While I was at book club, talking about the importance of trust in relationships. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been screwing my husband, you're pregnant with his baby, and you were planning to pass it off as David's. More silence. How long? Lauren asked. Lauren, please. How long? 6 months. Jessica's voice was barely a whisper. 6 months. Lauren repeated it like she was trying to understand a foreign language. 6 months of lying to my face. 6 months of girls' nights and coffee dates and me telling you about our marriage problems while you were the problem. Ethan said you two were practically divorced. Ethan said a lot of things, apparently. Did he also mention that we've been trying to have a baby for 3 years? That I've had 2 miscarriages? That I just started another round of fertility treatments? I heard Jessica start to cry. It was the same delicate crying she did during sad movies, designed to evoke sympathy without smudging her makeup. Save it, Lauren said. I've seen enough of your performances. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? Lauren's voice was getting stronger, more controlled. I'm going to destroy you both. I'm going to take everything Ethan has, everything he thinks he wants, and I'm going to burn it all down. And you get to explain to David why you're carrying another man's baby. Lauren, wait! The front door slammed. I heard Jessica collapse onto the couch, her delicate crying becoming real, ugly sobs. I saved my spreadsheet and went downstairs to find my wife curled up in a ball, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Rough day? I asked. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. David, I need to tell you something. Let me guess. The baby isn't mine. You've been having an affair with Ethan Morrison, and Lauren just found out. Jessica stared at me. How long have you known? Since about day 3 of your soul-searching adventure. I sat down across from her. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Jessica spent the next hour trying to explain herself. It was quite a performance. Tears, apologies, promises to end it with Ethan, claims that she'd lost herself, and that I was the only man she'd ever truly loved. I listened with the patience of someone watching a particularly elaborate magic trick, curious about the mechanics, but not fooled by the illusion. So what happens now? She asked when she'd exhausted her repertoire of excuses. Now? Now we see how this plays out. What does that mean? It means Lauren's angry, Ethan's probably panicking, and you're pregnant with a baby that isn't mine. I'm curious to see how you plan to resolve that. Jessica wiped her eyes with a tissue. David, please. I know I screwed up, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling, work through this. Like you worked through it with Ethan? She flinched. That's not fair. Fair? I almost laughed. Jessica, you've been lying to me for 6 months. You're carrying another man's baby, and you just got caught by his wife. I'm not sure fair is the word I'd use to describe any of this. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. This is Lauren. We need to talk. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Starbucks on Main Street. Come alone. I showed Jessica the message. Her face went pale. She wants to meet with you? Apparently. What are you going to tell her? The truth. That I've known about your affair, that I'm not the father of your baby, and that I'm curious about her plans for revenge. Jessica grabbed my arm. David, you can't. If you help her, she'll destroy me. I looked down at her perfectly manicured hand on my sleeve, then back at her face. Sweetheart, I said gently, you destroyed yourself. I'm just here for the show. Lauren Morrison looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she was wearing jeans and a t-shirt instead of her typical designer ensemble. She'd already ordered coffee and claimed a corner table by the time I arrived. David. She stood up, and for a moment I thought she might hug me. Instead, she sat back down and gestured for me to join her. Lauren, you look like hell. I know. She took a sip of her coffee. Thank you for coming. Did I have a choice? Not really. She almost smiled. I need to know something. How long have you known? About a week after she left for her solo trip. You? Since yesterday, obviously. But looking back, she shook her head. I should have seen it. All those times she asked about Ethan's schedule, her sudden interest in his work stories. God, I'm an idiot. No, you're trusting. There's a difference. Lauren looked at me with something that might have been gratitude. What are you going to do? That depends. What are you going to do? She leaned forward. I'm going to make them both pay. Ethan thinks he can trade me in for a younger model. Jessica thinks she can steal my husband and pass his baby off as yours. They're both about to learn how expensive their little romance really is. Sounds comprehensive. It will be. I've already cleaned out our joint accounts, changed all the passwords, and my lawyer is filing papers on Monday. Ethan will be lucky if he gets to keep his car. And Jessica? Lauren's smile was sharp. That's where you come in. I can destroy Ethan financially, but Jessica? She needs a different kind of punishment. Such as social annihilation. Jessica's entire identity is built on being perfect, being envied, being the woman everyone wants to be. What happens when everyone knows the truth? I considered this. She becomes the woman everyone pities. Exactly. But I can't do it alone. People will think I'm just a bitter ex-wife. I need someone credible, someone sympathetic. The betrayed husband. The betrayed husband who's handling the situation with dignity and class. Lauren reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. I've made copies of everything. Photos, messages, hotel receipts, credit card statements. Enough evidence to paint a very clear picture of their affair. I opened the folder. It was comprehensive, more thorough than my own investigation. What exactly are you proposing? A coordinated campaign. We expose them together, publicly, in a way that maximizes damage and minimizes blowback on us. You've thought about this. I've thought about nothing else for the past 24 hours. Lauren's voice was steady, controlled. They humiliated us, David. They made us look like fools while they played house with our lives. Don't we deserve better? I closed the folder. What did you have in mind? Lauren had done her homework. She'd mapped out Jessica and Ethan's entire social network. Friends, colleagues, neighbors, family members. She knew who had the biggest mouths, who held grudges, and who would be most shocked by the revelation. We start with the inner circle, she explained over dinner at a quiet restaurant downtown. The people who know us all well enough to be genuinely surprised. And then we let human nature take over. Gossip spreads faster than wildfire in our social circle. By the end of the week, everyone will know. It was elegant in its simplicity. No dramatic confrontations, no public scenes. Just the steady, methodical destruction of two carefully constructed reputations. There's one problem, I said. Jessica's already suspicious. She knows we've talked. So we make that work for us. Let her think we're plotting something dramatic, a big confrontation, lawyers, public shaming. While she's preparing for that, we'll be doing something else entirely. Which is? Lauren smiled. Making sure she has nowhere to run. Over the next 3 days, we executed Lauren's plan with military precision. A carefully worded email to Jessica's boss, mentioning concerns about her emotional stability during this difficult time. A conversation with her mother, expressing worry about Jessica's recent behavior and suggesting she might need support. Strategic comments to mutual friends about being shocked by recent developments. Nothing actionable, nothing that could be traced back to us. Just seeds of doubt planted in fertile ground. By Thursday, Jessica was getting strange looks at work. By Friday, her mother was calling twice a day. By the weekend, 3 different friends had reached out to ask if she was okay. People are acting weird, she told me on Saturday morning. It's like they know something I don't. Maybe you're being paranoid. Maybe Lauren's been talking to people. What would she say? Jessica looked at me suspiciously. You tell me. What did you two discuss at your little coffee date? We compared notes on our cheating spouses. It was very therapeutic. David, I'm serious. What is she planning? I folded my newspaper and looked at my wife. Really looked at her. She was scared, which was new. Jessica had always been confident, always certain she could charm her way out of any situation. I don't know, I said honestly. But if I were you, I'd be worried. The Morrison Foundation's annual charity gala was the social event of the season in Millbrook Heights. Everyone who was anyone attended, dressed in their finest clothes and their most charitable attitudes. Jessica had been looking forward to it for months. She'd bought a new dress, made appointments for hair and makeup, and planned to announce her pregnancy to select friends during the cocktail hour. She had no idea that Lauren had been planning too. You're not going to cause a scene, are you? Jessica asked as we got dressed. She was nervous, fidgeting with her jewelry and checking her reflection obsessively. Me? I never cause scenes. I'm the boring accountant, remember? David, I'm serious. Promise me you won't do anything to embarrass me. I adjusted my tie in the mirror. Sweetheart, I couldn't embarrass you more than you've already embarrassed yourself. The gala was held at the Grandview Resort, the same hotel where Jessica and Ethan had conducted their affair. Lauren's choice of venue was either coincidental or brilliantly vindictive. We arrived fashionably late. Jessica clinging to my arm like a lifeline. She'd perfected her smile, but I could feel the tension in her grip. Lauren was holding court near the bar, surrounded by friends and looking absolutely radiant. She'd clearly spent considerable time and money on her appearance. Her dress was stunning, her makeup flawless, her smile bright and genuine. She looked like a woman who'd just won the lottery. "There's Lauren," Jessica whispered. "She looks happy. Doesn't she just—" We made our way through the crowd, Jessica working her usual magic, air kisses, compliments, small talk about vacation plans and home renovations. She was good at this, always had been. Working a room was one of her genuine talents. But something was different tonight. Conversations seemed to end more quickly than usual. Smiles seemed forced. People kept glancing between Jessica and Lauren like they were waiting for something to happen. "Is it just me, or is everyone acting strange?" Jessica murmured. "It's not just you." That's when I spotted Ethan. He was standing alone by the silent auction tables, looking like a man who'd rather be anywhere else. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by the hunted expression of someone who knew the walls were closing in. "Oh, God," Jessica breathed. "He looks terrible." Ethan did look terrible. His tuxedo was wrinkled, his hair unkempt, and he had the hollow-eyed appearance of someone who hadn't been sleeping well. "Maybe you should go talk to him," I suggested. "Are you insane? People will see." "People are already seeing, Jessica. The question is what they're seeing." Before she could respond, Lauren appeared at my elbow. "David! Jessica!" Her voice was warm, friendly, with just a hint of something sharper underneath. "So wonderful that you could make it." Jessica forced a smile. "Lauren, you look beautiful." "Thank you. I feel like celebrating tonight." Lauren's eyes glittered. "David, could I borrow you for a moment? There's someone I'd like you to meet." She led me away before Jessica could object, leaving my wife standing alone in the crowd. "Phase 2? I asked quietly. "Phase 2, Lauren confirmed. "Watch and learn." What happened next was masterful in its execution. Lauren didn't make a scene, didn't cause drama, didn't do anything that could be called vindictive or cruel. She simply told the truth. It started with a casual conversation with the Hendersons, our neighbors. Lauren mentioned how difficult the past few weeks had been, how shocking it was to discover that her husband and best friend had been having an affair. The Hendersons were appropriately sympathetic, appropriately scandalized. Within minutes, the news was spreading through the room like ripples on a pond. Lauren moved through the crowd, accepting condolences, sharing select details with close friends, playing the role of the dignified wronged wife to perfection. I watched Jessica's face as she began to understand what was happening. The confusion as conversation stopped when she approached. The growing panic as she realized people were staring. The desperate attempt to maintain her composure as her social world collapsed around her. "Did you know about this?" asked Margaret Chen, one of Jessica's book club friends. "Know about what?" Jessica's voice was higher than usual. "About Lauren and Ethan. About the situation." Jessica looked around the room, searching for escape routes. "I don't know what you mean." But Margaret's expression said she knew exactly what Jessica meant. Across the room, Ethan was having his own crisis. A group of his golf buddies had cornered him by the bar, their faces a mixture of curiosity and judgment. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but Ethan's body language told the story. Shoulders hunched, hands shaking, the look of a man who'd been caught. "This is beautiful," I murmured to Lauren when she returned to my side. "It gets better. Watch." The evening's program began with Lauren taking the stage to thank everyone for their support of the foundation. She looked poised, elegant, completely in control. "This year has been challenging for many of us," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the room. "We've learned hard lessons about trust, about loyalty, about the people we choose to let into our lives." The crowd was hanging on every word. "But we've also learned about resilience, about the strength that comes from facing difficult truths, and about the importance of surrounding ourselves with people who share our values." Her eyes found Jessica in the crowd. "Some relationships don't survive when tested, but the ones that do become stronger, more authentic, more meaningful." The applause was thunderous. Jessica looked like she was going to be sick. The evening reached its crescendo when Ethan, apparently unable to handle the pressure any longer, approached our table during dinner. "We need to talk," he said to Jessica, his voice loud enough to carry to nearby tables. Jessica went pale. Not here. Yes, here. I'm tired of pretending. The conversations around us died. Everyone was watching now, not even bothering to pretend otherwise. Ethan, please? Please what? Please keep lying? Please keep sneaking around? Please keep pretending that what we did was okay. Jessica stood up abruptly. You're drunk. I'm honest. For the first time in months, I'm being completely honest. Ethan swayed slightly, confirming Jessica's assessment. Tell him, Jessica. Tell your husband the truth. I think you should leave, I said calmly. Ethan turned to me, his eyes wild. You want to know the truth, David? Your wife is carrying my baby. We've been screwing behind your back for 6 months. She said you were boring, that you didn't satisfy her, that she was going to leave you as soon as she figured out how to get the most money. The silence in the room was deafening. Jessica looked around at all the watching faces, at the phones that were undoubtedly recording, at the complete destruction of her carefully maintained image. That's not true, she whispered. All of it's true, Ethan said. Every word. And you know what the funny part is? I was going to leave Lauren for you. I was ready to give up everything, and you were just using me to get back at your husband for being boring. He laughed bitterly. Turns out we were both using each other. Jessica grabbed her purse and fled. I could hear her heels clicking rapidly across the marble floor, then the sound of the exit door slamming. Ethan stood there for a moment, swaying, looking around at the crowd of people staring at him with a mixture of disgust and fascination. Then he followed her out. The room erupted in conversation. Lauren appeared at my side. Well, she said quietly, that went better than expected. I looked at her with genuine admiration. You didn't plan that. No, but I was hoping for something like it. Ethan never could handle pressure. Around us, phones were buzzing as people texted, called, and posted about what they'd just witnessed. By morning, everyone in our social circle would know the story. By the end of the week, it would be legend. What now? I asked. Lauren smiled. Now we go home. Our work here is done. Jessica didn't come home that night, or the next morning. I found her at a hotel downtown on Sunday afternoon, looking like she hadn't slept in days. How did you find me? She asked when I knocked on her door. You used our joint credit card. I'm an accountant, remember? I noticed financial irregularities. She let me in. The room was a mess. Clothes everywhere, empty room service trays, tissues scattered across every surface. I suppose you're happy, she said, not looking at me. Happy isn't the word I'd use. What word would you use? I considered this. Satisfied, maybe. Justice has a certain satisfaction to it. Jessica laughed bitterly. Justice? David, you destroyed my life. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped pretending I didn't notice what you were doing. She turned to face me, and I was shocked by how much she'd changed in just 2 days. The polished, confident woman I'd married was gone, replaced by someone who looked desperate and defeated. What do you want? She asked. I want you to come home so we can discuss the divorce like civilized adults. Divorce? She said the word like it tasted bitter. Of course. You're going to leave me with nothing, aren't you? I'm going to leave you with exactly what you brought to this marriage, which, if I recall correctly, was about $40,000 in student loans and a Honda Civic. David, please. I know I made mistakes, but... Mistakes? I almost laughed. Jessica, you had a 6-month affair, got pregnant by another man, and planned to pass the baby off as mine. Those aren't mistakes. Those are choices. She started crying again, the real crying, not the performance version. I have nowhere to go, she said. My friends won't talk to me. My family is ashamed, and Ethan... She shuddered. Ethan's completely lost it. He's been calling me nonstop, saying we should run away together, start over somewhere else. And what did you tell him? I told him he's insane. I don't love him, David. I never loved him. It was just something that happened. Something that happened for 6 months. I was confused, unhappy, looking for something that was missing in my life. And did you find it? Jessica looked at me with red, swollen eyes. I found out that the grass isn't greener. It's just different grass, and it comes with different problems. Profound. Don't be sarcastic. Not now. I sat down across from her. What do you want from me, Jessica? I want you to forgive me. I want us to try again. I want to go back to the way things were. With another man's baby? She flinched. We could make it work. People do it all the time. People who love each other do it all the time. People who trust each other do it all the time. I stood up. We're not those people, Jessica. We haven't been those people for years. So that's it? 12 years of marriage and you're just walking away? I'm not walking away. I'm standing still. You're the one who walked away, remember? You walked away 6 months ago when you decided Ethan Morrison was more interesting than your boring husband. Jessica was quiet for a long moment. What happens now? She finally asked. Now you figure out what you want your life to look like without me in it. I was wrong about Jessica being defeated. She had one more play left, and she made it on Tuesday morning. I was at work when she called. David, we need to talk. Tonight. It's important. We've talked, Jessica. We've said everything that needs to be said. No, we haven't. There are things you don't know, things that change everything. Something in her voice made me pause. She sounded different. Not desperate anymore, but calculating, dangerous. What kind of things? Not over the phone. Meet me at home at 7. Come alone. She hung up before I could respond. I spent the rest of the day wondering what Jessica's final gambit would be. More tears? Threats? Blackmail? With Jessica, anything was possible. I arrived home to find her in the living room, perfectly put together for the first time in days. Hairstyled, makeup applied, wearing the dress she'd worn on our first anniversary. You look nice, I said. Thank you. She gestured to the couch. Sit down, please. I sat. Jessica remained standing, pacing slightly, like a lawyer preparing to deliver a closing argument. I've been thinking about what you said, she began. About choices and consequences, about getting what I deserve. And you're right. I made choices, bad choices, but so did you. Such as? Jessica smiled, and for the first time in weeks, it looked genuine. Such as thinking you were smarter than everyone else, such as assuming you had all the information, such as believing you were the only one playing games. I felt a chill of unease. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that you're not nearly as clever as you think you are. Jessica reached into her purse and pulled out a phone. Not her usual phone, but an older model I didn't recognize. Whose phone is that? It belongs to someone you haven't met yet. Someone who's been very helpful over the past few months. She pressed play on a voice recording. Can't believe David hasn't figured it out yet. The man's supposed to be good with numbers, but he can't even add 2 and 2. The voice was male, unfamiliar. He will eventually, Jessica's voice responded. David's not stupid, just unimaginative. By the time he figures it out, it won't matter. You'll have what you need, and he'll be left with nothing. Jessica stopped the recording. Who is that? I asked, though I was beginning to suspect. That's Marcus, Lauren's brother. The one she doesn't talk about because he's been in and out of rehab for the past 5 years. The one who needs money more than he needs family loyalty. My blood went cold. Marcus has been very helpful, Jessica continued. He's the one who told me about Lauren's plan to destroy us. He's the one who's been feeding me information about her strategy. And he's the one who helped me document some very interesting conversations between you and his sister. She pressed play again. Going to make them both pay. Ethan thinks he can trade me in for a younger model. Jessica thinks she can steal my husband and pass his baby off as yours. They're both about to learn how expensive their little romance really is. My own voice. Sounds comprehensive. Lauren's voice. It will be. I've already cleaned out our joint accounts, changed all the passwords, and my lawyer is filing papers on Monday. Jessica stopped the recording and looked at me with triumph. Conspiracy to commit fraud, David. Alienation of affection. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Marcus assures me that a good lawyer could make a very compelling case that you and Lauren worked together to destroy my reputation and my marriage. I stared at her, genuinely impressed despite myself. You've been planning this. I've been planning this since the day I realized you knew about Ethan. Did you really think I'd just roll over and let you destroy me? So what's your endgame? Jessica sat down across from me, her expression businesslike. 50-50 split of all assets. No alimony, but you pay child support until the baby turns 18. I keep my mouth shut about your conspiracy with Lauren, and you keep your mouth shut about my affair with Ethan. And if I refuse? Then I go to the police, the media, and anyone else who'll listen with evidence that you and Lauren Morrison conspired to destroy 2 marriages for revenge. I had to admire the elegance of it. Jessica had turned our own plan against us, using Lauren's brother as a double agent. It was ruthless, brilliant, and completely in character. "There's just one problem," I said. "What's that?" I pulled out my own phone and pressed play. "Marcus has been very helpful. He's the one who told me about Lauren's plan to destroy us. He's the one who's been feeding me information about her strategy." Jessica's face went white. "You're wearing a wire," she whispered. "Not a wire. Just a phone app. Amazing what technology can do these days." I stopped the recording. "Conspiracy, Jessica, blackmail, extortion. I'm pretty sure Marcus's cooperation with you violates his parole terms too." Jessica stared at me in shock. "Did you really think you were the only one who could play games?" I asked. The final confrontation took place in Lauren's living room on Wednesday evening. All the players were there: Jessica, Ethan, Lauren, Marcus, and me. Marcus Morrison looked like a younger, more dissolute version of his sister. He had the same sharp features, but his were softened by years of substance abuse and poor decisions. He sat hunched in a corner chair, avoiding eye contact with everyone. "So," Lauren said, her voice icy with controlled fury, "my own brother. My own flesh and blood." "She offered me $50,000, Marcus said weakly. "You know I need the money. I know you need help. There's a difference." Jessica sat rigidly on the couch, her perfect posture the only sign of her composure. Everything else about her screamed defeat: the dark circles under her eyes, the tremor in her hands, the way she kept glancing toward the door like she was planning an escape. Ethan looked worse. He'd been drinking, I could smell it from across the room, and his usual smooth confidence had been replaced by a jittery desperation that made him seem dangerous. "This is all your fault," he said to me suddenly. "If you'd just been a better husband, none of this would have happened. If I'd been a better husband, you'd still have screwed my wife. She was unhappy. She needed someone who appreciated her. She needed someone who would pay for expensive hotels and tell her she was special. There's a difference." Ethan stood up unsteadily. "You think you're so smart, don't you? You and Lauren plotting against us like we're some kind of criminals." "You are criminals," Lauren said quietly. "You committed adultery, fraud, conspiracy. We fell in love. You fell into bed. Love requires honesty, commitment, sacrifice. You two were just scratching an itch." Jessica finally spoke. "What do you want from us?" Lauren looked at her former best friend with something that might have been pity. "I want you gone," she said simply. "Both of you. Out of our lives, out of our social circle, out of our city, if possible. And if we refuse, then we release everything. Photos, recordings, financial records, witness statements. All of it goes to the police, the media, your employers, your families." Lauren opened a laptop and turned it toward them. On the screen was a website, professionally designed, comprehensive, devastating. It told the entire story of their affair, complete with documentation and evidence. "One click," Lauren said, "and this goes live. It gets sent to every major news outlet, every social media platform, every person in your contact lists." Jessica stared at the screen in horror. "You can't do this. I can, and I will. Unless you disappear voluntarily. This is blackmail. This is justice." Ethan was shaking now, whether from alcohol withdrawal or fear, I couldn't tell. "What about the baby?" he asked. "That's my child Jessica's carrying." "That's Jessica's problem," Lauren replied. "You forfeited any parental rights when you decided to have an affair with a married woman. I have legal rights. You have nothing. David is Jessica's legal husband. Unless she names you on the birth certificate, you're just another deadbeat who got someone pregnant." The room fell silent. Everyone was looking at Jessica, waiting for her response. She looked around at all of us, her husband, her lover, her former best friend, her co-conspirator, and I saw the exact moment when she realized she'd lost everything. "Fine," she said quietly. "I'll go." "Where?" Ethan asked desperately. "Away. Somewhere you can't find me. Somewhere no one knows this story." She looked at him with something approaching hatred. "This is your fault. All of it. If you hadn't gotten drunk at the gala, if you hadn't made that scene, we could have figured something out. Jessica, please. Don't." She stood up, her composure finally cracking. "Don't say another word. Don't call me, don't text me, don't try to find me. As far as I'm concerned, you don't exist. She walked to the door, then turned back to look at me. 12 years, she said. 12 years of marriage, and this is how it ends. This is how you chose for it to end, I replied. The only choice I made was to stop pretending I didn't notice. Jessica nodded slowly, as if she was finally understanding something that had eluded her for months. Goodbye, David. Goodbye, Jessica. She left without another word. Ethan started to follow her, but Lauren blocked his path. Where do you think you're going? After her. We can work this out, start over somewhere. She doesn't want you, Ethan. She never wanted you. You were just a way to hurt me and get back at David for being boring. That's not true. Lauren showed him her phone. On the screen was a text message from Jessica to Marcus. The idiot actually thinks I love him. This is almost too easy. Ethan read the message, his face cycling through disbelief, anger, and finally, devastating comprehension. She never loved me, he said quietly. No, Lauren agreed. She didn't. Any more than you loved me. Ethan looked at his wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, with something that might have been regret. Lauren, save it. Just save it. He nodded and walked toward the door. At the threshold, he turned back. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. So am I, Lauren replied. Sorry I wasted 15 years on someone who never deserved them. Ethan left. Marcus started to follow, but Lauren's voice stopped him. Not you. We're not done. Her brother sank back into his chair, looking like a child who'd been caught stealing. What happens to me? Lauren considered this. That depends. Are you going to disappear too, or am I going to have to make you disappear? I'll go. I'll leave town tonight. Good. And Marcus, if I ever see you again, if you ever contact me again, if you ever try to use our family connection for anything again, I will destroy you, completely. Do you understand? Marcus nodded and fled. Lauren and I were alone. Well, she said, closing the laptop. That went better than expected. Did it? We got what we wanted. They're gone, discredited, humiliated. Justice served. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Lauren Morrison, the perfect suburban wife, the woman who'd had everything and lost it all to betrayal. Was it worth it? I asked. She considered this seriously. Ask me in a year. What will you do now? Now? Now I start over. New city, new life, new identity. What about you? Same, I suppose. Though I might stay here. I like the house. Lauren smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her in weeks. You know what the funny thing is? She said. What? We make a good team. If circumstances were different. She let the sentence hang in the air between us. But circumstances aren't different, I said. They're not. She gathered her things and headed for the door. Take care of yourself, David. You too, Lauren. She paused at the door. Do you think they'll be happy, Jessica and Ethan, wherever they end up? I thought about this. I think they'll get exactly what they deserve. Which is each other. Lauren laughed, a real laugh, full of genuine amusement. Perfect, she said, and walked out of my life forever. I sat alone in the empty house, listening to the silence, thinking about choices and consequences, about revenge and justice, about the difference between winning and being right. Outside, it started to rain. I poured myself a scotch and watched the water run down the windows, washing away the last traces of the perfect life I'd never really wanted anyway. Tomorrow, I'd start over. New life, new possibilities, new chances to make better choices than the ones that had brought me here. But tonight, I was content to sit in the ruins of my marriage and savor the satisfaction of a game well played. Jessica had been wrong about one thing. I wasn't boring. I was just patient. And patience, as it turned out, was the most devastating weapon of all.